Hey guys, welcome to the Tech Demo. I hope you guys enjoyed the introduction video. This video will cover the general general points for the game itself in general, covering the asset and having this asset be played in several maps so that we can get a pretty good idea of what the game world would be in the final build. But as you can see, this is the character. It's fully functional. There are certain, artifacts here and there, and certain incomplete blueprints due to various obvious reasons. I'm not really adept with using the Unreal Engine, so things like, drawing the sword, I should have the sword and the hip disappear and have the sword and the weapon, sword and the arm appear, but I just key inputted the toggle visibility, so I have to manually, manually change the weapons around. But I mean, you can do this in Blueprint. You can have it when you draw your sword or you sheath your sword. As soon as you've done it, it will become like that, and it will be a smooth transition. As you can see the character, you can see how the character is like. A bit on a personal note, this character is the antagonist of the game, King Abel. His name is. He is the current champion of all the Valkyrian games. The game basically gives you immortality. I mean, the story itself, it gives you immortality upon winning the tournament. So this guy, you can see his armor is pretty brutal. I mean, it's not a pretty armor with gold reliefs or anything on it. It's pretty brutal. But this dude is, he's won it all. He's won it all for 20,000 years. So certain logic things like, oh, why is his eyes blue and stuff, he's been immortal for 20,000 years, so his eyes sort of permanently becomes like this, because I don't know how, but it's sort of like a visual logic based upon his story. But enough of that. You can see the character, up close. I can zoom you in. You can wait. No, this is the most I can zoom in. You can see the visual fidelity of it, the crispness of it. And again, I like to mention that this game will be running using 8K streaming textures, which is double of what the industry standard is doing at the moment. So the basic and the industry standard is 4096 by 4096, so we talk about it in 4K textures, and this is 8K streaming textures, and you can definitely see the visual fidelity of it. It's extremely sharp. The details on his armor parts, you can see the shine on his lips. You can see certain reflections on his weapon. If I was to rotate him around, you can see these beautiful reflections. And it's really crisp. I really like it. I hope that this presentation that you see is close to over or around at least 90% of what the final build would look like, given a few fixes, a few vert fixes here and there, this artifact here on the shirt, the elbows sort of thing, it's pretty disgusting if you see it now up close, but this can be fixed, although it will be pretty limited on how accurate you want certain places to be, because this is a low poly character, unlike the industry standard for video games nowadays. Excuse me. They use about I think 100,000 polys for the character, 100,000, and this character only has 17,000 to be precise, 16,779 polys. So it's a blessing in disguise, because with having a low poly character, you're putting less load on the computer, and for this kind of game of what it's trying to sell, there'll be experiences in game where there are a lot of people on screen, a lot of players on screen, and to have a character asset with 100,000 polygons and having, let's say, 50 people on screen with with such high poly count, it's going to lag the hell out of your computer. It doesn't matter, even if you have the top end computer, it's still gonna lag out. So you can see, again, I'll show you the visual fidelity. You can see the shine on his cheek there, the armor itself and stuff. You can see how the light reflects off the character. So yeah, like I said, this is a fully functional character. You have two states in this game. I like to mention that you have two states. You have your out of combat state, which is like this. You see this guy just chilling out with his sword and his sheathed sword, and when you want to go in combat and you start fighting, then you would you draw your sword, and you'd be in combat state. So this guy's combat state's like this. He moves around, showing you his absolute ability to destroy anything and anyone in his way. And of course this character has skills. I've made a few skills for this character. So you can see him swinging like this. His other skill sort of like this. I do forgive if there's, noise before the swing. It's a whole video, it's an audio file, and there was noise in that audio file, and I didn't know how to clean it up, so that obviously can be fixed. Show me the skills, his faster attacks. Some chain combo, mix around. We can spam the same skill. Unfortunately, I can't present to you a fully developed combat system. Like I said, I'm extremely inept at this editor, and I think it's pretty hard for me to find sources on the internet, on YouTube, Google, that will show me a good way of doing it. But you can imagine, you can see how the character moves around. So with the game in general, the game is going to be a tab targeting game. If you don't know the term of it, tab targeting, let's say that edge there is your opponent. It's an action RPG game where you have to you can manually swing your sword and stuff, and you don't have this sort of lock-on ability. But with a tab targeting game, this has both worlds. This is the best of both worlds. So not only have a tab targeting game, you not only can tab and lock onto your target, but you can manually target your character by manually going to your opponent and doing the skill like that, instead of pressing tab and targeting your character and using the auto approach, auto attack to approach your character and use it that way. Or you could just use your AASD keys and reach him that way. So you can see his ability is sort of dashes forward and stuff. So I want to show you like a combo of all the skills that we use, but unfortunately I didn't know how to add sound to this, because this is an animation montage, whereas this is basically the blueprint. It's key input to the animation file itself, which is why I was able to put in a sound file with blueprint. But with an animation montage like this, the only way to implement sound is to create notifies in the animation sequence itself, and have that notify be blueprinted and saying, you know, to have that sound implemented at that notify state given within the animation sequence. So I mean, I have no idea to do that. So I hope the soundless thing, even you can see the potential of, you know, varying different kind of skills, the implementation of different abilities, with, you know, with some awesome particle effects and stuff, some awesome weapon trails, you know, the swoosh of the weapon. And again, I really wanted to put some weapon trails on here, but the problem that I had was that my weapon did not have any animations attached to it. So how it works is, you, in your 3D modeling program, once you have the model in your program, you have your skeleton, your bones, which is attached to your 3D model, and you would alter the bones around for the animation. But the sword is like a normal object, like one of these walls here, without animation, and the sword is just locked to that bone. So whenever that bone moves, the sword follows, if you know what I mean. It doesn't have its own animations. Otherwise, I'd be able to put some weapon trails on it. But obviously, it can be fixed. It is possible. It can be edited. But again, I have to say, I'm extremely amateurish at this editor. But I hope you guys find it intuitive, and the final build would obviously be much better than this. But like I said, I do feel like the representation that you see now, the visual fidelity that you see now, is roughly about 90%, roughly over 90% of what the game would look like, or what your character at least would look like. So let me stop this video, and I shall show you this character in 2 maps. I won't bog you down with too much time. I know there are many things that needs to be done, need to be discussed, but let me stop the video now, and I shall show you the next map of this character.